is on the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as you guys probably already know or remember. We are going to talk to you guys today about our leadership experience, and based on our leadership journey and our previous experiences with leadership roles and our current roles in extracurricular activities on campus, we came up with a series of questions that we felt were relevant to our leadership journeys. And Lauren and I both have previous clinical experience. She was a paramedic, and I worked in the ER as an ER tech, and I was also a scribe. So we came up with questions that we thought would help you guys learn more about our leadership journey and let us talk about what we felt we've learned over the course of this class. All right. So, Lauren, did you want to start?
Sure. So I will start with my first of 5 questions. So my first question is, how can a leader fail? And tell me about a time that you failed as a leader.
I think a leader can fail when they aren't able to motivate their team or cultivate their team, or cultivate their team's abilities. So I think for me as a leader, I focus on the individuals in my team because I feel like cultivating their experiences and their knowledge is the best way to get them to perform to the level that I need. And so I think that a leader will fail when they're unable to motivate their team, essentially. And I think one time that I do remember I clearly failed was when I was a team lead for the scribes. I was responsible for training the new scribes. And these are individuals who were new to any kind of clinical work. They were new to the emergency department, and obviously the emergency department is a fast-paced environment. There was one individual that I was training that was having a really hard time adjusting to the fast pace. And it was a particularly rough shift in the ER. As you know, we will have many of those, and she had a really difficult time, and instead of motivating her and helping her work through it, I think that I added to her stress by getting frustrated with her. And I think that as a leader, and especially one who was responsible for the team and cultivating the team, I definitely failed in that aspect. So that is one experience that I clearly remember having failed.
Yeah, well, it's a good learning experience.
It was. So my first question for you is, as the current president of AMSA at our school and the previous vice president, how have you encouraged the development of your team members?
Okay. Well, for those who don't know, AMSA is the American Medical Student Association, and most medical schools rather, have this organization. And what's great about it is it allows us to do political activism and volunteering, things of that nature. So just a little bit of background. So as you mentioned, I have taken over as a leadership role, and I'm really excited about it. And as far as cultivating motivation, I think a lot of that comes with our volunteers. I think it takes a special kind of person to move out of the United States and into a developing country solely to study medicine. We're not having the comforts of home and family and things, so it takes a really motivated and strong person to be here to begin with. And so in that sense, a lot of people already come motivated. And so what I like to do, or at least what my goal is to cultivate that energy and allow people to perform in the best way that they can, while still, I guess, functioning within the parameters of our organization. Was there a second part to that question? Or does that cover that question?
No, I think that was good.
Okay. Sometimes I lose track, so I just want to make sure. Okay, so any follow-up with that one? Or
no.
Okay.
Next question for me.
Cool. So as a leader, how do you get others to accept your ideas?
I think the key to getting others to accept your ideas as a leader or as a follower, which we've talked about followership in this class, is to be passionate about what you're talking about. You have to sell other people on your idea, essentially. So it's almost like you're a salesperson and you're selling them a product. You have to get them to believe in what you are talking about, whether that is a task or whether it's a project, it's an event. You have to be excited about it, and you have to believe in it. And you have to believe in yourself and your ability to get the task done. And you also have to, I think, believe in your team members and the people that are going to support you in getting that event done or getting that task done. So I think those are key things, the confidence in your team members and also passion. You have to know what you're talking about if you're going to pitch an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very knowledgeable about the subject. But you also have to be passionate about it. You have to have that kind of oomph and that kind of extra step, that's going to convince people to go for what you are pitching to them, essentially.
Awesome.
So, cool. All right. As a leader, how do you measure success for yourself?
Okay. Well, I would probably say that I'm hardest on myself. I'm my biggest critic, and that's always been the case for me, so that unfortunately probably isn't going to change for a while. So I think that I measure success as a leader on how well perhaps everything is going as a larger group. I think that when I feel like I'm able to communicate my goals and objectives in a way that people can understand well, and then conversely they can communicate with me, we can be on the same track and have a shared goal. I think that even just kind of good old-fashioned, like, hey, what do you think? Like, do you think this is working? Because sometimes I can perceive things are going really well. Sometimes I'll perceive things as going terribly wrong. But ultimately, I just have to ask the people in which I'm leading at the time, what do you think? And that's something that we had mentioned in this class before, is that it's not an unreasonable exercise to just blatantly ask your team to essentially publicly criticize you. And, it might be uncomfortable at first, but maybe that's the point. And so ultimately, if they feel like they're not going to be, in trouble or anything for making any kind of aggressive statements or whatever, of course, I'm not saying let's fight, but I'm just saying, be a little bit more blunt. I think that's probably going to be the healthiest way to measure, is just getting honest feedback that's helpful, and just get a genuine measurement of how things are running from the team standpoint also.
Sounds really good. I agree with you. So
cool. We'll work on that then with our organization. Okay. So then another question I have for you is, how would you go about getting cohesion among a team who disagrees?
I want to say that sometimes you have to agree to disagree. So you are never going to be able to get 100% of your team to agree on something. Maybe some aspects or some ideas they'll all jump on, and they're going to be like, great, we agree, everybody's cool with it. But there are always going to be situations where you're never going to get 100% acceptance from everybody on the team. And I think the important thing is to listen to your team members, especially those that are not satisfied, but also understand that there has to be mutual respect around the group. So that's something that, as a work culture, or a team culture, or a culture environment, the environment and the culture that you have with your team, that's something that you have to work on. That's something that you have to build, is that idea of mutual respect. The idea that you don't always have to agree on what we are doing, but you have to respect the fact that maybe it needs to get done, whether you like it or not, or you have to respect the other individuals enough to be able to listen to their ideas and be open about what they're pitching to you. So I think the best way to go about achieving cohesion in a team on a task or in general is the idea of mutual respect. You have to maybe not agree with me all the time, but you have to listen to me while I pitch what I have to say to you, or while I tell you my views or my opinions or whatever needs to be done. And at the end of the day, as a leader, you have to respect me enough to know that sometimes I'm going to have to do things that you don't like. Sometimes we're going to have to do tasks that are going to help us get to our goal or accomplish our milestones that you may not necessarily agree with. And as long as I listen to what you have to say and I take that into consideration, you should be respectful enough and understand that maybe you might just have to go along with that. So it's that idea that you're never going to get everybody to agree 100% of the time. It's almost impossible. You should, you would ideally like to get it, and that's something you should always strive for. You should always strive to please your team members and get them on board with what you're doing. You don't want to just shove ideas down their throat. But at the same time, sometimes there's going to be disagreement. Sometimes there are going to be people that just don't want to change. They don't want to do what you are asking of them. And you have to be able to listen to those people. I think at the end of the day, you as a leader taking the time and the effort to sit down with them and say, hey, listen, I know you're not 100% on board with this project, but it's something that really needs to get done, and I want to talk to you about it personally. What do you think is going wrong? Why are you so hesitant to get on board? What are your apprehensions? That kind of thing. So I think that would be the best way to get cohesion on the team.
Okay. That works.
Cool. So,
So Malika, do you have any other questions for me?
no, I don't at the moment, and I just want to say that it is a pleasure being in this class with you, and I'm so excited about working on AMSA together and with
Yes.
all the new and exciting things that we have coming up for the next term.
Sounds good.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Nothing immediately, but like you had mentioned, I'm glad that we got to do the leadership class together. So we've been kind of being able to grow and develop our skills as leaders, and then basically immediately we get to put our skills to work.
Yeah.
So there really isn't any lag time and all that. So that's great. And thank you for watching our video, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.